Hey guys, so I'm being called to share this with my twin flame collective, my divine feminines, and anyone who overgives, anyone who abandoned themselves for the purpose of making our partner or hoping that our partner will reciprocate or that they will give the love that we should be giving ourselves to us. Make sense? And in the beginning, we have our guard up, and we then slowly bring it back, we bring it down to allow trust to happen between us and our partner. And then what happens though is that as the divine feminine having a abandonment wound is we then change or shift our energy to being sovereign, from being sovereign to being codependent. We then start to rely on the other person. We start to rely emotionally, financially, physically, maybe even physically, but and also intellectually on our divine masculine, on our partner. And that's where the problem lies. We should never be codependent on anyone, but be dependent on ourselves. And then we get mad at them for allowing ourselves to depend on them. But the thing is, we then become codependent. We overgive when we're not supposed to. We're supposed to give ourselves. Relationships, people in our life, partners in our lives, they're supposed to be an add-on. They're not supposed to be someone we depend on. They're supposed to enhance our life and not be a person that we depend on for our fulfillment, emotionally, physically, or financially, and even intellectually. So that's the problem. What happens is that we put our guard down, and then we say, "Oh, we trusted them. We let them in our lives, in our frequency." But the thing is, it's not their fault. It's basically us allowing or trusting them. And trusting is not even true. It's not even correct. It's that we are depending on them for our emotional stability. And that's wrong. And that's where we get into trouble. So we need to remind ourselves it's okay to allow our divine masculine back in our lives if they are inviting us or wanting us to be in our life. The issue is then when we start to depend on emotional stability from them versus from ourselves. We need to remain independent. We need to remain sovereign. We need to remind ourselves they are just an add-on to our life. And I'm sharing this with you because a friend of mine, actually a couple of friends of mine, reminded me of this topic, because we tend to do that as divine feminines, is we tend to rely on the other person because of our wound of abandonment and overgiving and self-worth, like not having self-worth. So, and I was reminded today when I was asked, or told, or they shared with me that their twin flame invited them to dinner or lunch or coffee, and they said no until they can be in touch with their feelings. But the thing is, you have to remind yourself that you're manifesting everything in your life, and you're manifesting a relationship with your twin, if that's what you want. And in order for you to manifest whatever you want in your life, you have to embody the version of you that's experiencing it. So saying no to them is coming actually from an ego. And if you're saying no to them because of fear of not getting the same energy back, that's your insecurity. And I hope I'm explaining this correctly. That's your insecurity of you not remembering that you're always in control of your energy. There's no harm in having coffee or lunch with your twin. What's the harm is if you then depend on them for your emotional stability and security. If you're depending on them for your happiness, for your love, for your stability, emotional stability, intellectual stability. You follow? So if they aren't giving you what you're wanting from them, if they're not reciprocating the same energy, and by the way, them asking you for your time, access to you, by asking you to go to coffee or dinner or lunch or whatever, walk, that's them reciprocating, wanting time with you. And so for you to say no, it's not embodying the version of you that's experiencing them in your life. If you were in a relationship with them, you would be having coffee with them or lunch or dinner or walking with them. Now, the problem that we have is then when we start to expect more from them and we don't receive that. Well, when you don't receive that from them, that's when it's an opportunity for you to put that into yourself. And in doing so, you pull back your energy. And in pulling back your energy, you're inviting them to step into divine masculine, into that energy that you want them to, right? It's really being intelligent about how you approach things and how you manage your emotions and your energy. They're basically the same, emotions and energy. So I set intentions that this makes sense with you. So don't be afraid to go and accept an invitation from your twin. Just be aware of how much energy you give. And remember that you are always sovereign when you practice being sovereign. It's not that it's like you have to embody the version of you that's experiencing what you're wanting to experience. Like, they can't prove themselves worthy of your energy or them being able to reciprocate unless you're in a place or energy where they can actually show you that they are gonna be able to give you reciprocity. And if they don't, that's when you pull back your energy. So really, it's all about your not feeling secure about your own energy at the end of the day, about you being able to control your emotions when you're not seeing what you're wanting reflected back to you. So anyway, I feel like I'm repeating myself. So I'm just gonna remind you that you are cherished, adored, loved, and created in God's image, and therefore you are powerful, that you are always in control. So I'm gonna put this intention that you understand what I'm trying to tell you.